June 30, 2024, Lobato sends this image on my Discord server. Turn hard books into easy books. Well, that's interesting. I wonder how... It was AI. They're using artificial intelligence to rewrite books. Okay. Magibook is an iPhone app democratizing stories and ideas, according to its own website. Apparently, it gives you the power to read any book no matter your English level. Please ignore the asterisks I'm placing all over the screen. Fundamentally, the app works by displaying the text of any given book and using AI to adjust its difficulty level by rewriting it into simpler and simpler versions of itself, depending on where you move the slider. The option for viewing the original text is there, but you start off with the easiest possible version. Notably, the app only has books old enough to be public domain. Probably because the developers know it would be a copyright nightmare to try this on the newer stuff. So they are democratizing stories and ideas, but only when they can get away with it. This also makes the earlier claim that Magibook gives you the power to read any book a little embarrassing, but let's move on from that and see the service in action. This here is a passage from the Great Gatsby. This is the same passage rewritten for the intermediate level, and this is the elementary version. Whew boy, where do I even begin? I don't understand AI, but I do understand writing, and I can tell AI doesn't understand writing. At least, not this kind of writing. Let me explain how I view prose. I think there are two main scales for determining what good prose looks like. One for brevity and one for clarity. Every single bit of writing is intended to communicate, primarily ideas and tone. The clarity scale measures the effectiveness of individual words in this communication, and the brevity scale measures the proportionality of effective to ineffective words. Prose fails on the clarity scale if you're not using effective words, and even if you are, it still fails on the brevity scale if those words are sandwiched between unnecessary fluff. The general goal is to get across what you're trying to say with language that is both the most direct and the most concise you can make it. Speaking as someone who's been rewording my novel lately, it is very, very common to run into words, phrases, or entire sentences you don't need in service of this goal. Sometimes you can get away with not rigidly following the scales if a certain bit looks pretty enough, but it's almost always safer to assume you won't, so it's a good general guideline to stick to. With that in mind, let's go back and see how Magibook AI performs in this regard. In the original passage, we can tell just how much importance the narrator assigns to the advice his father gave him. He emphasizes how vulnerable he was when he received it, and the use of the phrase, "advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since," evokes a specific sense of gravitas. Thinking about something can often be a passive activity, as thoughts tend to wander into our minds, often uninvited, but turning over implies an active choice from the narrator, which is important. The elementary level rewrite removes the mention of vulnerability and replaces the active language with "something that I still think about." This is terrible. The intermediate level rewrite isn't quite as bad, but it still has many of the same problems. The rewrites don't hold an ounce of the original passage's weight because the AI can't properly communicate the idea F. Scott Fitzgerald could. It's maximizing the brevity scale without even beginning to care about the clarity scale, which leads to bland, formulaic trite like this. Now, I must stress that's only true of the rewritten passages in this context. The elementary level AI sentence isn't even inherently bad and would be perfectly fine at a more casual moment. If it was an offhand comment with little narrative weight, this would work, and any writer or editor who knows their shit can comb through a manuscript and distinguish between the light and the heavy. AI cannot do this. Context has been something AI is less than great at comprehending, and that's persisted regardless of its surface-level quality. The fucked up hands and misspelled words on generated images speak for themselves. In Magibook's case, the AI's sole mission is to reduce complexity in language by any means necessary. And it's not going to carefully sift through the text to find moments where it can or should, it's just gonna go ahead and do it. Naturally, this means the communication of ideas and tone are horrifically butchered, as are the stylistic choices that form the identity of so many of these classic books. Here's an analogy for you. Think of a pixel artist trying to replicate an image in a low definition, painstakingly ensuring every pixel they place in the limited area they have communicates the most important points of the original. Now imagine automatically resizing the image trying to get the same effect. Are you seeing the problem yet? The AI strips away the personality and intentionality behind the original text and offers dull leftovers in service of one singular goal it cannot question, or rather, turn over in its mind. Now, the Great Gatsby example is the one the developers are choosing to advertise on the Magibook site, so they probably think this is some of the best they can show. I decided to download the app and try it out a little, and let me tell you, it's not as bad as it looks. It's worse. Take, for instance, the first page of Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, teeming with rich southern language, and watch as it fades away to dust so the AI can replace it and much of the relevant exposition with generic sludge that tells you basically nothing. Let me read this to you. At the end of that book, Tom and I found money in a cave. We got very rich. We each got $6,000 in gold. That's a lot of money. What am I even supposed to say? Does that not say enough already about how shitty this is? The one defense I've seen of this app is that it can be helpful for people with special needs, who aren't able to digest certain texts as easily. I'm sympathetic to this as an autistic person, but I have two counterpoints. First, the benefits are offset by the fact that anyone reading these rewrites will not be getting the authentic experience that comes with these books in their original forms, and I just personally think that's sad. Second, there are so many accommodations for special needs readers we could invest in that don't involve this. We could hire tutors and interpreters to help readers in their understanding of the text since, they actually understand it. And we could push for flexibility in school curriculum so readers can study books at their level and deepen their understanding of language at their own pace. Now, granted, this would require drastic change and it would cost a lot, so I guess that's a reason why we might have to go with the AI option instead. It is much cheaper after all. Wait, $50 million a year?! Look. No matter how you slice it, I, as a writer, do not see this as a net positive in any way. I'm not wholly against AI, and I do see potential use cases for it, but I'm really not a fan of specifically generative AI, and especially corporate generative AI. Magibook is exactly why I don't want this technology mixing with the art so brazenly and so without consideration for the consequences. When people say there's a human touch to writing AI can't replicate, that isn't just wishful thinking. It actually means something. That human touch is the time we take to make every sentence we write resonant and the way we critically engage with our own work. To do that on our level, an AI would have to think like us, introspect like us, and truly be like us. At that point, it wouldn't even be a machine in any way that matters. It would be human too. Hey folks, if you're hearing this, you're at the end of the video. Congratulations! If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and check out my Patreon for perks like early access to videos, your name in my credits, and more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.